It's hard.
Hello, I'm Holly, I'm 20 and I'm a researcher for the JRF.
And I'm Lindsay, I'm 22 and I'm a researcher for the JRF.
Hi, I'm Jordan, I'm 17 and I'm a JRF researcher.
Hi, my name is Lisa, I'm 19 and I'm a JRF researcher. Hi, I'm Zoe, I'm 17 and I research for JRF.
Mary, I'm 16 and I'm a JRF researcher.
Hi, I'm Amy, I'm 16 and I'm a researcher for the JRF.
Hi, I'm Kylie, I'm 22, I'm a peer educator.
Hi, my name's Vicky, I'm 20, I'm a peer educator.
Hey, what was your favourite part of the conference?
Okay, the best thing I've enjoyed about the last 2 days is developing the charter, because we've been researching since February, so getting the charter together has been a great opportunity and all of us have come together to finish it off. My favourite part about the conference was the food.
My favourite part of the conference was the venue, as we got.
My favourite part of the conference was putting the charter together, and the information from the conference itself was really useful.
My favourite part of the conference was the freebies and meeting new people.
This question that I'd like to ask the three of you is where you first lived when you moved out.
Mine was Johnstown, my mum. Warsaw, my mum. Queen's Park, my mum.
And after you moved out?
My mate's house. Just wherever I could, really. Slept rough.
And the second question I'd like to ask you are, what are your thoughts on the conference so far?
Boring.
It's been a lot of boring, people like using big words I don't understand. Some bits have been okay and other bits have been a bit long-winded where you didn't understand much.
I think that it's very difficult for young people to secure housing due to the fact that there's difficulties with housing benefit and difficulties with managing a tenancy.
Yeah, it's Joe Payne.
What organisation are you with?
Am I?
What are you doing here today?
Attending the conference, obviously. Particularly interested in the workshop on the sort of interplay between homelessness and children's services in terms of young people threatened with homelessness or actually homeless, whose duty it is and the nature of the duty offered. But altogether it looks like an interesting programme.
Oh great, I'm on my own, am I? Okay.
Can you tell us your name, please?
Okay, my name's Kelly Buckley.
What organisation are you with?
I work for Shelter Cymru.
Why are you here today?
I'm a research officer for Shelter Cymru, and as part of my role we try to keep up to date with everything that's happening and to speak to other people and to try and share good practice.
What's been the best part of the conference so far?
Well, so far it's very early in the conference. I really enjoyed hearing Gavin Corbett speak about the 2012 commitment in Scotland. It's something that as part of my role I've been finding out a little bit for a project I've been running, so that was really interesting.
Do you think it's easy for young people to find housing?
I don't know. My project at the moment is looking at young people in housing and the problems they face in finding suitable housing. So, I don't think it's very easy for young people in particular at their stage of life to find housing.
I'm Lindsay, and I'd like to ask, young people are worried about where they will live in the future. What hope can you give them?
What we want to do is to ensure that everybody gets as many options as possible in terms of housing, and so that people choose the one that's suitable for them. So you mustn't think, oh, I've got to stay home with my parents or with my family unless I can afford to buy a house. because there's lots of things in between, and certainly let's hope that there's a good private rented sector where you can get good quality housing at an affordable price. And one of the products that we're looking at through Housing Association is rent first, where you might consider renting off a housing association for a period of time, and that rent counts towards your deposit at a later date. So there's lots of different things that we're looking at, and we're looking at a range of things, and hopefully then people will see what's suitable for them. It might be that it's most appropriate to stay home, or it could be that you want to rent first, or maybe you want to save up and actually purchase a property. So we need to make sure that there's houses that people can afford within their own community.
Okay, thank you. We're asking a rather personal question to everybody, but can we ask you where you lived when you first left home?
Well, when I first left, and you're not going to tell anybody, are you? But when I first left home, I was 17. I had a huge row with my mother because she didn't like my boyfriend, who was much older than me. He was 12 years older than me, so I had a huge row. And he and I set up home together in private rented. And then I had my son, and of course that was quickly followed by a divorce. So I wish I hadn't had that row with my mother, to be honest with you. But I've got a lovely son, he's now 30.
Thank you very much.
Well, when I first left home, I had a sublet of a council house in Oban, which is in the West Highlands of Scotland.
And what are your thoughts on the conference so far?
I've really enjoyed it. For me, as a visitor to Wales, it's really interesting to hear how somewhere else is dealing with much the same problems as we have in Scotland, and to meet new people and hear new ideas. It's really worthwhile.
The first question that I'd like to ask you is, where did you first live when you first moved out from home?
Well, my mum kicked me out, and I lived in a car for 6 months. I moved down to, I was living in Surrey at the time, and I moved down to Devon with my boyfriend, and I lived in a car for 6 months and had a job in a cafe down there, and then we moved back to Surrey and we got into private rentals.
The second question I'd like to ask you is, what are your thoughts of the conference so far?
I'm finding it very interesting. I think there's a lot we can do towards partnership working together with various different things. I'm picking up some very useful things on the homelessness side of things, and it's very good.
Thank you very much. Asking questions to people. The first question we'd like to ask you is, young people are worried about where they will live in the future. What hope could you give them?
I'll sort of start off on the downside. Like, we know that there's a huge shortage of affordable housing, and although we're doing quite a bit now to bring new social housing into the supply chain, if you like, there's going to be, nobody's underestimated to think it's going to be to meet all the demands. My own view is that we've got to be more creative. We've got to think about not just building new social housing and lots more of it, but also looking at how we utilise the private rented sector, but to make sure that we're raising standards in that sector and that we're giving quality options to people. And that we look at things like bringing the 27,000 empty properties in homes back into use, because there's a lot of opportunities there if we can be creative and imaginative. Nobody's saying it's going to be easy, but I think there are genuine opportunities.
Can we ask you a personal question?
A personal question.
Can we ask you where you lived when you first left home?
Yes, I lived in a terraced house near Shelter Station. First newly married, moved in 1980. It was in the middle of the steel strike, which I remember well because my father was on strike. He was working in Trostra. So it was quite a sort of difficult time, and sort of reminiscent of where we are now in a way, because we had an incoming Conservative government with similar policies to what we're facing now. So sort of, it's almost like feeling deja vu about where we are at the moment.
Thank you very much. The first question we'd like to ask you is, where did you first live when you moved out?
Well, that's very interesting, because it would be university. I was just about going on 18, I was 18 and a half going on 19, and I suppose that was it. I went to live in Hall of Residence and then ended up in the worst digs in the world, where I stayed until about 1973. Yeah. There was student housing is the answer to that, but unless you count the fact that I used to work at Family and Steelworks in the summer holidays, I used to go and stay with the wider family, aunties and uncles and that. So that's the answer.
The second question we'd like to ask you is, what do you think of the conference so far?
Well, it's fascinating. It's fascinating to be here because as a journalist, you're supposed to be across a lot of things. This is a conference full of specialists, people who are across one thing, one issue, and it's an extremely significant one. But it's nice to hear Welsh perspective, Scottish perspective, English perspective, and to get the Minister on the spot. People like me got access to the Minister quite regularly when the Minister wants it. But here, it's, you know, it's ordinary people who work.
Hi, I'm Holly.
And I'm Lindsay.
And we've been on this project since February, and me and Lindsay have decided
that we would like to build more houses for young people.
so they have a safe environment and a better opportunity in life.
Hi, my name's Joe. No, I can't do it. My favourite part of the venue. See, I did it wrong again.